Hello everyone and welcome to Around the Wickets on ThePapare.com. As you know, Papare takes a look at what happens in cricket every week. And as we all know, cricket is our favorite sport, and we too like to try and talk of the game both locally and internationally and bring to you not just what's happening, but also share with you our views on how and what should be done. Let's start off again as usual with Sri Lanka cricket. Well, we've had some very fine news coming through from SLC, but my question is, can the interim committee and its chairman walk the talk? Can they do what they're saying? Now listen to this. They say an overdraft of 285 million has been settled. Now that's one of the points that most people were very, very concerned about. And that's about SLC borrowing and the ICC not giving their money going into an escrow account. But 285 million overdraft has been settled. Now, if that is being done, which I'm sure it is, otherwise they wouldn't tell us, they should be congratulated for that. Plus, 190 million rupees deposited in treasury bills and also $1 million deposited. So lots of savings for Sri Lanka cricket. Further, they're saying that they are hoping they could save as much as 25 million rupees from the upcoming Pakistan tour. Now you know that tours such as Pakistan or countries like say Bangladesh, West Indies don't give us too much of revenue when it's an inbound tour. It has to be India first, then England. Those are the two teams that gives us a lot of revenue. Now the Indian team is due next month, or in August I should say. But have you also heard that the bids received for television rights was just $1.4 million? Now, could you believe this? Because India is one of the most sought after teams, and television needs the Indians and to show their cricket to the wider audience. So I would have expected that the bidding would have been much higher, and also just one bidder, just 10 cricket. What about ESPN Star? What about the other channels? What about the other networks? Why haven't they put in their bids? That's very, very surprising and also baffling as far as I'm concerned. And also just 1.4 million, not good enough. I'm sure Sri Lanka cricket will have to call for fresh bids because the Indian tour, as we all know, is a massive tour in terms of income generation. Now, talking about tours, you know that the Pakistanis will start off with their first game, the practice game against the Board President's 11. And interestingly, Sri Lanka cricket or the selectors have included two tried and tested players. Now I take my hat off for that. Jehan Mubarak and Upul Taranga have been given a go against the tourists in that 3-day game. I would have thought the selectors could have gone a step further and included the likes of Chanaka Velagedra, who had a brilliant domestic season. In fact, Jehan Mubarak has had two outstanding domestic seasons, back-to-back thousands, and also Jonty Rhodes have said that he's such a brilliant fielder in gully that he thinks that Jehan Mubarak could have played for Sri Lanka purely in terms of his fielding because he was so good, he's fit, and let's hope for Muba's sake, as we call him, that he will come up with the right kind of performance. And I also must lead you into a little secret. When Jehan Mubarak first played for Sri Lanka, when he played in the Under-19 Youth World Cup, it happened here. And we had some promising names. Tilina Kandambi was there, Gajanayaka was there, Ian Daniel was there, Jehan Mubarak was there, and Ravi Shastri, who was one of the commentators with me. And Ravi Shastri felt that Ian Daniel and Jehan Mubarak were two players that Sri Lanka could really expect to perform in the future. Unfortunately, neither of them did. Daniels couldn't play for Sri Lanka despite being such an outstanding player. And Mubarak, when given the chance, couldn't really shine or couldn't make anything of note. So let's hope this time around Jehan Mubarak is in the right frame of mind, right form to try and grab the opportunity with both hands. Now, also another exciting young player included in the Board 11, and that is Jeffrey van der Sey. Now, in case you haven't seen him, you know, leg spinners always excite me. Shane Warne was an exciting prospect, and Jeffrey van der Sey, I can tell you, is a highly exciting and a player with great potential. I hope he will be given the opportunity and he will come up with the goods against Pakistan in this game, because I believe he's one for the future. Leg spinners are always match winners, and I mean orthodox leg spinners, not the type I mean, we got leg spinners who bowls with different actions and who are mostly interested in trying to keep the runs down. But an orthodox leg spinner is the one who will get you wickets, and those are the bowlers that will win you games. Now, also another question that has come our way is, what about some of the other names that isn't included in the match against Pakistan, particularly Udara Jayasundara. Now, Udara Jayasundara, a former Ananda cricketer, played under 19 for Sri Lanka and also was the man of the match in that second test against Pakistan A. Now, my only reasoning here is that if Udara Jayasundara was included, he would have been a reserve. The selectors have clearly shown their hand by including Dimuth Karunaratne and Kaushal Silva, who hasn't had match practice. So they'll be expected to really play, and then Dinesh Chandimal. So these are the guys who they want to see performing and also getting some match practice. Now, more on cricket, and this time about umpiring. You know how important umpiring is for this game of cricket. And if you're watching international cricket, we can now listen to the third umpire talking to the on-field umpire when it comes to decisions pertaining to the decision review system. So it's important that umpires understand the technology, how to use technology, and how to communicate with the one sitting up there. And what better person other than Kumar Dharmasena, who also won the coveted prize for the best umpire in 2012. He did conduct a workshop for the Sri Lankan umpires where he did teach them the finer points of umpiring and also how one could use the tools at their expense and how they could make a good use of it. So, an important workshop for the local umpires and done by our very own and well-known international elite panel umpire Kumar Dharmasena. Now, we've been telling you to send us your questions and also your views. Now, we got a question from a fan, young Mohammed Azim. He's asking us as to why he thinks actually experienced players such as Dilshan Munawira and Jehan Mubarak should be played in the Sri Lanka team because they are tried and tested. I think you're spot on, Mohammed, because Dilshan Munawira, though, is a T20 player. He's now gone to the Caribbean to play in the CPL. So he should be looked at when T20 games happen. But Jehan Mubarak has certainly been looked at. And we thank you for your question. Keep sending us your views and questions. Now, if you want to send us your questions, all you got to do is send your queries through Facebook, Twitter, and you can also email them to the editor at ThePapare.com. Right, it's time to go across the seas and look at the international arena. Australia, West Indies, was it the lambs to slaughter? The Australians won the test match inside 3 days by 9 wickets, and West Indies were completely annihilated. Now, the Australians, to me, looked a little bit out of sorts and looked a little bit rusty. Now, imagine if they were to their best, how the West Indies would have really struggled. Now, when you know that the West Indies were the kings of cricket, particularly in the 80s and the first part of the 90s, one really tends to be concerned and feel for the West Indies because they were such a wonderful side and they are struggling to really rebuild that image. The only positive thing as far as the West Indies were concerned was Devendra Bishu, another leg spinner. He had 6 wickets against Australia. And Adam Voges, would you believe it, 35 years, making his debut and also getting 100 on debut. Now, Jehan Mubarak should be very, very excited to read about Adam Voges. You know why? Because the Australians have used him at 35. So Jehan Mubarak, I think he's about 33 or 34, so he can come back if he performs well. Well, we're talking also about a revival of English one-day cricket. After a magnificent test series, England started off in fine fashion. They beat the runner-up in the World Cup by a massive record margin of 210 runs. They got 400 plus. That's their highest in a one-day game. And the English fans, the commentators were so excited when England got past the 400. For a moment, I thought it was a hat-trick ball when Liam Plunkett hit his first delivery for 6. So it was a very exciting game from an England point of view. Josh Buttler became, or in fact registered, the second fastest ODI 100 for England. Do you know who the first is? The first was also Josh Buttler. That was against Sri Lanka. And then we had young but somebody who's really emerging fast. Joe Root scoring the 4th fastest one-day 100 for England. A partnership of 170 plus for the 7th wicket, an all-time record in one-day cricket between the recall Adil Rashid, who had a fine half-century and 4 wickets, and the ultimate man of the match, Joss Buttler. Steve Finn had a score to settle. Well, if you watch the game, the first game that is, McCullum went after Finn. He got 11 runs in the first over. Shades of that World Cup game, England-New Zealand, when Saudi just ran riot and McCullum just took the England bowlers to the cleaners. But Finn had the last laugh when he bowled the New Zealand captain. And from that point, I really didn't think that New Zealand had a chance of getting to that 400 plus score. So a good start for England, but still 4 more games to be played. So let's wait and see how the runner-up, the experienced Kiwis, would respond. Now don't forget, they lost the first test, won the second test. So there's every chance that New Zealand could come back and do something special in this series. But I'm excited for England. It's a young side and it is a new side. And England have just forgotten their past and they have decided to move on, which I think is the right way to go. Anyway, lots of cricket in the coming week as well. As I told you before, Pakistan will be playing their 3-day game. England will be playing one-day cricket. India, Bangladesh. We'll bring you all on around the wicket, I should say, on ThePapare.com. So you can follow us all the time for cricket, and you can also send your queries to #AroundTheWickets on Twitter and on Facebook, or email us editor@thepapare.com.